The Morris Canal stretched across northern New Jersey, from Phillipsburg in the west to Newark and Jersey City in the east. It was built almost 200 years ago, and for many years was an important part of New Jersey's transportation system. A canal is a long, man-made stretch of water. Canals have been used for hundreds of years to move people and goods, and are still used today. In the old days, mules walked on a towpath near the canal. The mules pulled the boats in the canal waters. A mule driver steered the mules along the towpath. The captain steered the boat in the canal. On the Morris Canal, mule drivers were often children. You might think of a canal as a water highway. The Morris Canal stretches 102 miles from beginning to end. In the early 1800s, there were no highways or airplanes. A trip across New Jersey was very difficult in those days, and very expensive. As a result, basic daily needs like food or coal or lumber was only available from the local area or was very costly. A trip on the Morris Canal would take about 5 days. A Morris Canal boat could carry 70 tons of cargo with just 2 mules. A boat going from Phillipsburg to Jersey City on the Morris Canal first would climb up 700 feet in the west towards Lake Apacon, and then go down 900 feet in the east from Lake Apacon to Jersey City. That large change in elevation is still a world's record today for a canal. Once on the New Jersey side of the river, a boat would go through the entry arch and climb up the first canal plane. This plane was called Plane 11 West, since it was the 11th plane in the western part of the canal. Today the plane is gone, but you can still see the incline to the river and the archway that marks the beginning of the canal. The Morris Canal mostly carried coal from Pennsylvania to the factories in northern New Jersey, and to heat homes and businesses in Newark and Jersey City. The canal also carried produce from the farms in the west to the large cities in the east. The Morris Canal was built in the 1820s. The canal was very popular and traffic increased quickly. It was busiest around the time of the Civil War in the 1860s. However, just a few years later, railroads became very popular, especially for transporting coal. Railroads are faster and more reliable than canals, and they don't have to close in the wintertime. To try to compete, the canal was expanded and widened to handle bigger boats and more traffic. It didn't work, and the canal traffic dropped off very quickly. Finally, by the 1890s, there was almost no commercial traffic on the canal. The few boats on the canal were mostly loaded with tourists or someone out for a weekend boat ride. For many years, skating on the canal was a popular winter activity. Most often a canal is built on flat, level ground, like in these pictures. These are pictures of some locks on the Morris Canal. Here, the mule leader waits for the boat to go in the lock and rise to the next level. This machinery controls the heavy lock gates. When the gates are open, the water pours in. The water raises the boat in the lock while everyone patiently waits. The Morris Canal introduced a unique way to go up and down large hills. These were called planes and were basically small water-powered railroads. The canal boat would fit into a special car called a cradle car. In this picture, a boat approaches the cable car. The cable car is half buried in the water in the center of the picture. The cradle car had wheels and was set on top of rails, and the car was attached to a strong cable. The cable would pull the car and the boat up or down the hill. At the top of the plane, the cable pulls the car and the boat back into the canal. The mules are reattached to the boat, and the journey continues. Large underground water wheels, called turbines, would spin as water taken from the canal rushed through them. This spinning motion was connected to the cables, and provided the power needed to pull the cable car and the boats.
This is an actual turbine on display at Hopatcong State Park. In these diagrams, you can see how water is forced down the penstock and through the turbine, making the turbine spin. The turbine spins with enough power to carry the 70-ton boat up the hill.
A canal would use an aqueduct to carry the canal over a stream or valley. This aqueduct, in the east, carried the Morris Canal over the Passaic River. By the early 1900s, the canal was barely used and had become a hazard. In 1924, after 100 years of service, the state of New Jersey decided that the canal was too dangerous and expensive to maintain. So they abandoned the canal. To do this job, they hired the same man who organized the canal expansion in 1850. He directed the men as they drained the water from the canal and filled in the canal path with dirt and rubble. They also tore down the plains and aqueducts and filled in the locks. When the Passaic River Aqueduct was blown up in the 1920s, the workers felt very sorry for destroying something so beautiful. By 1926, the canal was gone. Only the occasional Morris Canal marker shows what the canal used to be. But there are still pieces left from the canal if you know where to look. This was Lock 1 West, near Lake Musconetcong in Stanhope. Today, you can still see the top of the lock walls if you stand in the same spot to take a picture. This is a picture of Plane 2 East. You can hike up the hill where the plane was and walk on large stones that held the rails for the cradle cars if you visit the Morris Canal Park in Ledgewood. The cable cars at Plane 10 carried more than just canal boats in this picture. Two ladies in their Sunday best enjoy a ride up the hill. Today you can still visit this site at the Morris Canal Park at the edge of Phillipsburg. Notice the stones set on top of each other to support the plane. And the large stones used to hold the rails for the cable car. If you stand in just the right spot, you can imagine two ladies enjoying a Sunday ride.